Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the financial apps you use every single day. We're going to go way beyond that slick surface to show you the massive hidden machinery it really takes to build them.
I mean, really think about it for a second. You tap your phone, you tap your card, and poof, magic happens. Your money just moved, instantly. But is it really that simple? Well, the answer is a huge no. What we all see is just the tiny, polished tip of a massive, incredibly complex iceberg. So let's dive in and see what's really happening under the water.
This right here is exactly what I'm talking about. The surface, the part you see, is the great app, the instant payments. But holding all that up is this invisible world of complexity. You've got settlement systems to actually move the money, strict compliance rules like Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering, super sophisticated fraud models running 24/7, and all these complex licensing strategies. This hidden world is what we're going to explore. We're going to break this whole journey down into 4 parts, kind of like we're building a pyramid from the ground up. We'll start with the foundational plumbing, then we'll climb up to the rules and regulations, talk about strategy, and finally, see how it all comes together in a real launch plan. Okay, let's start at the very bottom with the core operations, the nuts and bolts that make every single digital payment even possible. This is the invisible machinery that's always running in the background. So the very first step in any transaction is something called switching. The best way to think about it is like a digital traffic cop. When you tap to pay, the switch is the thing that instantly routes that payment request from the store through this huge network and makes sure it lands on the right doorstep, your specific bank. Next up, you've got clearing. Now, if switching is the traffic cop, clearing is like this giant central accounting office for all the banks. At the end of the day, they all get together and compare notes on every transaction. They basically tally everything up to agree on one final number of who owes what to whom. And finally, we get to settlement. And this is the moment that really matters. It's when the actual money physically, well, digitally, moves between the banks. It's the final, irreversible step. This one concept explains why a payment feels instant to you, but it might take a day or two to become truly final for the businesses involved. So let's make this real for a second. When you tap your card, a request flies from the merchant's bank, that's the acquirer, to a card network like Visa or MasterCard. The network zips it over to your bank, the issuer, to get approval. Then an OK message travels all the way back. All of this happens in milliseconds. But remember, the actual funds, the settlement, that happens a bit later. And, it's really important to get that cards aren't the only game in town. There are all these different rails or systems for moving money around the world. You've got direct account-to-account systems like India's UPI, which is just mind-blowing. It handles billions of transactions a month. And then you have mobile money systems like M-Pesa in Africa, which have completely transformed entire economies. Each one has its own unique plumbing. So we get the plumbing now, but here's the catch. You can't just connect to these pipes. First, you have to learn how to navigate this incredibly complex set of rules. This next layer of the iceberg is all about compliance, risk, and earning trust. Okay, so every single fintech founder faces this huge choice. Do you take the long, expensive, and super complex path of getting your very own financial license, or do you partner up with a bank that's already licensed? That's a model called banking as a service, so you can get to market way faster even if it means you have to share revenue and rely on them. It's a massive, massive strategic decision. Now, a huge part of these rules is something called Know Your Customer, or KYC. And this is not a suggestion, it's the law. When you sign up for a new financial app, you're going through a flow just like this one. You prove you are who you say you are with an ID and a selfie, you get checked against global watch lists, and you get assigned a risk level. It's the digital handshake that's essential for preventing financial crime. And the threats out there are just relentless. They can be anything from someone taking over your account to really complex schemes like synthetic identity fraud, where criminals literally invent a new person out of thin air, using bits of real and fake data to open accounts. Building trust means you're building defenses against all of this, all the time. All right, with the plumbing in place and the rulebook understood, we can finally get to the fun part, the creative part. Actually building a product that solves a real problem for people and has a business model that actually works. I absolutely love this quote from the source material. It's the perfect way to think about this next step. See, it's not enough to just build a long list of features. The real goal is to create defensible value, something that truly sets you apart from the competition in a way that's hard to copy. So, How do you do that? Well, you have to capture that value somehow, right? There are a few core ways to do it. You could charge a small fee per transaction, you could offer a subscription, you could earn interest through lending, or you could even build a whole platform and charge other businesses for access. The really smart companies often start with one and then strategically add more over time. To find that defensible value, you've got to know the landscape. Builders use tools just like this competitor matrix to map out who is serving which customers and what their unique selling proposition, or USP, really is. It's this process that helps you spot the gaps in the market, the real opportunities where a new product can come in and win.
And here we are. This is the final ascent of our pyramid. This is where all that deep knowledge of the plumbing, the rules, and the strategy all gets pulled together into a concrete plan for actually building and launching the product.
Everything, and I mean everything, starts with the Product Requirements Document, or PRD. This is the master blueprint. It details exactly what the product is and how it should work. Without it, your engineers, designers, and marketers all end up building different things. This is the one document that gets the entire team aligned on a single vision. Next up is the roadmap. And crucially, this is not just a feature list. It's a strategic story of the product's journey, starting with the minimum viable product, or MVP. That's the simplest possible version. And it shows how that product will evolve over time to meet both what customers need and what the business needs. A great product will not sell itself. You need a go-to-market plan, or GTM. This is the playbook for your launch. It answers all the critical questions. How much is it going to cost? What's our core message? And where are we going to find our first 100 or even our first 1,000 customers? And finally, all of this hard work gets distilled into the pitch. This is where you tell the story. It's the compelling narrative, backed up by all your deep research, that brings the product vision to life for investors and partners and gets you the buy-in you need to make it all a reality. So when you look at that fintech iceberg now, you see the whole picture. Building a successful product isn't just about a pretty app. It's about mastering the plumbing, navigating that regulatory maze, building a defensible strategy, and then executing a flawless launch plan. It's a monumental, 4-layered challenge. So the next time you tap to pay for a coffee, you'll know you're not just seeing an app, you're seeing an incredible feat of engineering, strategy, and compliance. And that leaves me with one final question for you. Now that you've seen what's really under the hood, what financial problem would you solve?